Live from the Business RadioX studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and folks, we are broadcasting, as we always do, from inside Renaissance Bank in beautiful Alpharetta. And if you are tired of the mega bank experience, one that involves computer-generated voices and just where they really don't want real people to talk to you, the customer. If you're tired of that, Renaissance Bank has a solution. What the clients that I refer to Renaissance tell me, and they come back and tell me Renaissance is big enough to handle pretty much any need you can throw at them, which is what you want as a business, but they're small enough to deliver their services in a personal way. And that's a magic combination that's hard to find in banking these days, but you can find it at Renaissance Bank. Try it out. Go to renaissancebank.com, find one of their local offices and call them up and see who answers the phone. It'll be a live person. Renaissance Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. And now I want to welcome David Haas. David is Senior Managing Director of the Eastern Region for Service Corp International. Dave, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here, John.
I'm delighted that you're here. Let's talk about you and how you're serving folks at Service Corp International. And you've got a big announcement about it, one of your properties and operations in Sandy Springs, right?
We do. Yeah, we have a new, really one-of-a-kind mausoleum cremation urn complex, John, that we've been working on for several years. The total's about 59,000 square feet. It has over 1,900 cremation niches, 800 burial crypts in this 2-story beautiful facility that also has room for banquets and food and beverage and celebrations of life, high definition audiovisual, wraparound porch. And we've worked with a local architect and local interior designer to bring something to Sandy Springs and really to this cemetery business that's never been done before. And we have Arlington Memorial Park in Sandy Springs, which we celebrated our 100-year anniversary 2 years ago. So we're 102 years going strong and serving the great people of Sandy Springs and greater Atlanta as well.
That's fantastic. But I want to get into the details of what's happening at Arlington Memorial Park in this new Legacy Chapel, of course. But let's give folks a sense of the business of Service Corporation International, Service Corp International. You are developed quite a niche in this area.
Yes. Yeah, Service Corporation International is the world's largest funeral home and cemetery company. We're headquartered in Houston, Texas, and we have about 2,000 locations in North America, the United States, and Canada. We have a very strong presence here in Atlanta. We have several properties, both funeral homes and cemeteries, and we're honored to serve over 650,000 families every year across North America. And one of the great things about our company is even though we're a big company, we have a lot of flexibility on traditions and customs and rituals based on the community where we have a location. Mm-hmm. So what we do in Atlanta may be different than what we do in Detroit or Los Angeles or Vancouver, Canada, but we have that flexibility. And we work for a great company that was actually started with one funeral home all the way back in 1962. We had a very visionary CEO and chairman. His name was Bob Waltrip, who started with one funeral home and grew this company. It used to be international, and it still is, to the company that we have currently. So Sandy Springs and Arlington Memorial Chapel has been in our network since the mid-'90s. We've actually had this a very long time, because what happens is a lot of times when somebody owns a cemetery or funeral home, they may want to retire, and maybe they don't have children who want to take it over. So they look to sell the business to a company like us, and we buy that. And a lot of times we keep the ownership in place. We always keep the name in place as well. We don't change that out because of the tradition and the legacy of that individual location. So the future is bright for our business, John.
Yeah, certainly that's true. And But when clients go in to see you, whether they're pre-planning or whether they're at that unfortunate time when they're having to deal with a recent death of a loved one, Dignity Memorial is what they're looking for, right? That's I guess the banner, the brand that's on the desktop of whoever they're visiting, right?
That's correct. So even though our company is Service Corporation International, our brand is really Dignity Memorial.
Right.
We also have other brands up in Canada. We have a Hispana division as well, Wilson Financial Group. But our primary brand is Dignity Memorial, and that's something that we're very proud of. And we're held to certain standards, really both internally and externally.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is, you get the benefit of that local operation being held to the standards of Service Corp International, correct?
That is correct. And we take that very seriously because we're a big company. We have the ability to create standards of care for our premier locations across the network. And that's something we strive to do every day. Our goal is to exceed expectations for every family that comes into contact with us, whether it's doing advanced planning, pre-planning, or somebody that unfortunately has a death. And we take that very seriously.
Folks, we're speaking with Dave Haas. Dave is a senior managing director with Service Corp International. He runs the Eastern region for SCI, and he's here to talk with us today about the new Legacy Chapel at Arlington Memorial Park in Sandy Springs. That history of Arlington Memorial Park goes back quite a ways, and you're the expert, but I would think that over time, the reputation of the work that you do there has only built to a certain point and really factored into the selection of putting a brand new operation like Legacy Chapel at Arlington Memorial Park. Just the reputation, I would think, made a difference in terms of why you selected them.
Yes. Arlington Memorial Park is what we consider one of our trophy properties, one of our show ponies. We have about 500 cemeteries in our portfolio, and Arlington is one of the more premier locations, the one in Sandy Springs. And because of that, when we look at developing the cemetery, and we have a team of people, landscape architects, engineers, cemetery development folks that actually go and look at each cemetery and decide what the future development will look like. And we try to go about 30 years out, John, to determine what we're going to do. When we decided to try this concept, the Legacy Chapel, really, there was no other cemetery that we thought could handle this. We had the land for it. We had the space for it right near the office. So we ended up spending about $10 million to build this project from start to finish. And certainly COVID impacted that. We had to stop during the pandemic, but that gave us a chance to really reevaluate what we wanted to include in the Legacy Chapel. So we did make some changes, some significant changes. We added more of the cremation niches that we'll talk about. But actually, the pandemic was favorable to us because we're able to take a step back and say, do we really want to go with this, or do we want to try something different? So this has been years in the making. We really started talking about this enthusiastically about 5 years ago. And then we broke ground right after our 100-year celebration that we had at the cemetery back in 2002. So it took a little over 2 years really to build, and we finished it up in the spring and have just been adding final touches with our AV, with our help of our interior designer here in Sandy Springs to put the finishing touches on it. And we actually had our first entombment a couple of weeks ago, and we had a great celebration of life with that. So it's off and running, Sandy Springs.
Wow, that's fantastic. So let's give folks a sense of what 58,000 square feet, the size. We're talking, you're going to have to help me because I know that sounds like a Costco warehouse to me size. Is that what we're talking about?
It is big. It's something that we've never tackled before. It is 2 levels. So we have a lower level than an upper level that have both the cremation niches and the entombment, the burial crypts. And then on the top level, as you walk in, we have a beautiful banquet area with granite countertops. We have a kitchen for our caterers to use, serving stations for food. We have high top tables. We have round tables to support and have celebrations of life. We have beautiful restrooms. We actually have a couple of offices in there as well for our families to use with the high definition Wi-Fi. So it is 2 levels. The exterior is beautiful. We wasted nothing in making this a premier facility. When you see the interior, it's like walking into a high-end Ritz-Carlton.
Wow. That's fantastic. And what have you learned so far out of this, David? You've been at this a while in terms of construction and launch, and you're in business now. You've accepted your first entombment or cremation. I can't remember which you said, but talk about what you've learned so far and the reception that you've received from those that are looking at this facility to pre-plan.
The reception has been absolutely overwhelmingly positive. Anytime we have a family that either wants to plan advanced planning or actually had a death, we give what we call a park tour. We give a tour of the cemetery to allow families to make a decision on where they want to go, whether it's ground burial, whether it's a mausoleum, whether it's one of our high-end estates that we have. We give what we call a facility tour. And just to look at the folks when they actually walk into the Legacy Chapel and their body language. And I think the most common phrase we hear is, wow, I didn't know anything like this existed. So it's been really positive. It's been fun to give families tours of Legacy Chapel. And again, people have just been really positive about it. And we think that's going to continue. So we usually start there anytime a family comes in, even if they already own property with us. Arlington, just want to give them a chance to see that. And maybe that's something that they want to transfer into. But yeah, it's been really solid. And we're so thankful for our construction company, which was Carrier Mausoleum, to help us with this on our journey and getting this ready to go. And we already have plans, John, for a couple more of these outside of Atlanta.
Oh, wow. I was going to ask you about that. But so you wouldn't be doing this if you weren't responding to preferences or where you may see preferences going. And I guess 2 questions there. One is the trend that we talked about this before we came on the air, so you helped me out with this. The trend away from maybe faith community-based funerals, celebrations of life, what have you, into other venues. And then also, is there a move that people are having toward wanting entombment versus burial? Is that a trend as well? And is that something you're responding to with Legacy Chapel?
A lot of trends happening over the last 5 years, and a lot of it too was stimulated by COVID and not being able to have a service. But on average, John, the cremation rate in the United States increases anywhere from 0.5 point to 1 point a year. And that's been happening for many years now. Some other trends that we're seeing, though, is more and more people want to have a more uplifting service. The days of the black suits and kind of the sad, people are already sad when they come to see us. We don't want to make them any sadder. We try and lift them up a little bit and have a service where we really can commemorate somebody's life. And that could be contemporary music, that could be speakers, celebrants, where people actually can laugh and memorialize somebody in a more positive way than a sad way. But we're still going to have our funerals at churches. We're still going to have our funerals in synagogues. But you are seeing a lot more people move away from the church to have their celebration of life. And whatever they decide, we always tell them it's perfect. If they want to have a funeral at a funeral home, if they want to go to their country club, whatever they want to do, we're going to be there for them. But you are seeing a shift. And I think the term celebration of life is the one that a lot of people are talking about. We call it life well celebrated, and that's something we strive to do with life stories and really create a special memory for all those that attend the service, whether it's a funeral, whether it's cremation, whether they go into a mausoleum crypt, whether they go into an urn niche. or even an estate. But yeah, the trend really across the country is that more uplifting, upbeat, more contemporary services. And we get real excited about that because that gives us the ability to be creative with every family. Every family is different. They all have different needs. They all want to tell a story about their loved one. And it really gives our funeral directors, our family care specialists, our family service counselors, the ability to customize every family differently. And that's exciting. Really, if you think about our funeral directors, in a lot of ways, they're event planners. That's what they're doing. They're planning a special event for somebody that will only happen once. And that's when somebody dies.
And it sounds like the key word here is options. You're giving clients more options, and more options are a good thing.
Yes, it is. And they want options. And I think years ago, we probably didn't do that. They say that the funeral was the longest running Broadway play, right? 2 songs, 2 hymns, and you dismiss to the cemetery. And we're changing that.
Right.
Some people still want that, and that's perfectly fine if they want. But we're moving away from that on giving them options on different things. We have wonderful technology where we can show families what's possible with their loved one, whether it's the stationery or keepsakes or mementos, whatever they think is something that's going to fit their needs is what we strive to get to and try and exceed their expectations every time.
So part of the deal here is, it seems to me, and I'm speaking to our listener, is that you can have a role in pre-planning, or you don't have to have. Your loved ones have a lot more options with which to memorialize you if you don't want to have a say in that. But it would seem to me you would want to have a say in that. So to that point, you do a lot of pre-planning work for those that are thinking ahead and want to take that burden off their loved ones.
John, we call it the gift of love. If you pre-plan, get all your affairs in order, including what you want to have for your funeral, maybe help in writing your obituary in advance. You can fund that. You can put it in a safe deposit box. And the beauty of it is when you pass, the loved ones, the survivors, only have to call one number to get things going. So we call it the gift of love. And we have a lot of specialists that deal with that, whether it's the funeral, whether it's cemetery. We handle a lot of that in advance. And for those that do that, they find that to be extremely helpful for their loved ones and their survivors, because you all know if a death occurs and there's no planning in place, especially if it's an unexpected death, that's a big burden for the survivors to have to take care of. So we encourage pre-planning. We think that's the right thing to do. That's the way to go, for people to go ahead and take that in advance. And again, I think people are more satisfied if they do that.
David Haas, folks, Senior Managing Director of the Eastern Region for Service Corporation International, talking about their newly opened Legacy Chapel at Arlington Memorial Park in Sandy Springs, serving not just North Fulton, but really the entire metro Atlanta area. Certainly you've got the capacity for that in that facility, Dave.
We sure do. We sure do. It's a beautiful cemetery in Sandy Springs. Fortunately, we do have a lot of land still left to develop, another 50 or 60 years of development opportunities. But this is special. The Legacy Chapel is something that we've been striving to do. It's complete. It looks beautiful. And we couldn't be happier to have this in Sandy Springs at Arlington as our first kind of entree into this type of construction and this type of building.
I'm delighted that you took the time to come on and share your fantastic work of you and your team to get this facility going and to serve this area, the North Fulton, greater metro Atlanta area. So congratulations on that work. But we've got to get to the most important question, which is folks that want to schedule a time to come visit, and how do they, first of all, find out more information, and how do they schedule a time to visit?
Great. John, we have a website. It's arlingtonmemorialpark.com. Our phone number is 404-255-0750. You can certainly stop by the cemetery anytime during business hours. However, having an appointment would be great as well, so we can have a seasoned veteran counselor be able to meet with you and really discuss all the options available to you at the cemetery. So arlingtonmemorialpark.com. Please schedule an appointment. We'd love to see you.
David Haas with Service Corp International, speaking about the new facility there, Legacy Chapel at Arlington Memorial Park in Sandy Springs. Dave, thank you so much for coming on, and congratulations to you and your team for this successful launch. We're excited about your contribution to the community.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. Hey, folks, just a couple of quick things before we let you go for today. If you are a solo, small firm services provider and you've got issues around your value, expressing your value, your positioning, your business development, and your pricing, then I've written a book that's just for you. It's called The Generosity Mindset, A Journey to Business Success by Raising Your Confidence, Value, and Prices. The book is available in where all fine books are sold, at the big mail order place that you know about, but it's also at local bookstores. You can order it there as well, and I encourage you to patronize your local independent bookseller. But go to thegenerositymindset.com to learn more and find out where to buy the book. Also, I just want to thank you. If you're listening to the show, I'm thanking you because you have supported us now through something like 816 or 17 episodes. I was looking at it this morning, and I'm just overwhelmed that we have gotten this far with North Fulton Business Radio with this show over 8.5 years. And that's only occurred because of your support. You help us live into the mission to be the voice of business in the North Fulton region and beyond, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you. Thank you for supporting us in the way you do. So for my guest, David Haas, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.